My mother discovered my savings and told me to buy a house for my sister with that money. When I refused, she forged my signature and took out a mortgage in my name, claiming I'd pay. Eventually, I 32M need some perspective because I'm genuinely shocked at what just happened. I've always had a decent relationship with my mother, Patricia, 53F, though she can be overbearing at times. My sister Jennifer, 34F, and I grew up in a middle-class household where money was tight, but we never went without necessities. For context, I've worked in software development since graduating 8 years ago. I lived frugally, saved aggressively, and made some lucky investments. Last year, I bought a modest 2-bedroom house in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and I'm proud of it. Yesterday, my mother came over to help me organize some paperwork for tax season. I stepped out to grab lunch for us, leaving her in my home office. When I returned, she was sitting at my desk with this strange expression, a mix of shock and something I couldn't quite identify. "Michael," she said, holding up my bank statement, "why didn't you tell me you had this much money?" My stomach dropped. I'd left the statement in a folder on my desk, never thinking she'd go through my personal documents. The statement showed my savings account balance of $127,000, money I'd carefully accumulated for future investments and emergency funds. "Mom, that's private financial information," I said, trying to keep my voice level. "You shouldn't be looking at that." She waved dismissively. "Private from your mother. Don't be ridiculous." "But Michael, this is excessive. You're hoarding money while your sister struggles to pay rent every month." I stood there, sandwich bag in hand, completely blindsided. Jennifer works as a teacher, and yes, her salary isn't great, but she's never asked me for help and manages her finances responsibly. "Mom, that money is for my future. Investments, retirement, emergencies. She laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "You already have a house. What emergency could you possibly have that needs over $100,000? Meanwhile, Jennifer throws away money on rent every month because she can't afford a down payment. The conversation devolved from there. She accused me of being selfish, of forgetting where I came from, of thinking I was better than my family. She said that since I obviously didn't need all that money, I should help Jennifer buy a house instead of hoarding wealth in my own property. I tried explaining that my savings were carefully planned, that I had investment strategies, that just because I had savings didn't mean I was obligated to buy my sister a house. But she wouldn't hear it. She left in a huff, but not before saying, "I raised you better than this, Michael. Family helps family. You have more than enough to share." Now I'm sitting here feeling violated and guilty at the same time. Part of me wonders if she's right. Do I have an obligation to help my sister because I've been fortunate? But another part of me is furious that she went through my private documents and is now trying to guilt me into spending my hard-earned savings. I haven't talked to Jennifer yet. I don't even know if she knows about this. My phone has been blowing up with text from my mother about doing the right thing and not being greedy. Am I wrong to want to keep my savings for my own future? How do I handle this without destroying my family relationships? Update 1. 2 weeks later. I can't believe I'm back here with an update this soon, but the situation has escalated beyond anything I imagined. After my original post, I took your advice and tried to have a calm, rational conversation with my mother. I called her 3 days after the incident and suggested we meet for coffee to discuss boundaries and privacy. She agreed, seeming surprisingly reasonable on the phone. I should have known better. I arrived at the coffee shop to find not just my mother, but also my sister Jennifer and my Aunt Linda, my mother's sister. It was an ambush. They'd even chosen a corner booth where I couldn't easily leave. "Michael," my mother began before I could even sit down, "we're here because we love you and we're concerned about the path you're taking." I almost laughed at the intervention-style setup, the path of saving money. Jennifer looked uncomfortable but spoke up. "Michael, I didn't know about your savings until Mom told me. I want you to know I never asked for this." But my mother interjected. "She shouldn't have to ask. That's what family does. We help each other." Aunt Linda chimed in with stories about how my grandparents always helped their children, how family wealth should be shared, how my generation had lost sight of family values. It was a coordinated attack on my character and choices. The revelation that floored me came when my mother pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of house listings. "I've been doing research," she said proudly. "There are several suitable houses in Jennifer's school district, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, good neighborhoods. With your $127,000, You could put down 20% on a $300,000 house and still have money left over. She'd been house hunting for my sister with my money. Mom, I said, trying to control my rising anger. You can't spend money that isn't yours. It's not spending. It's investing in family, she countered. Jennifer pays $1,500 a month in rent. That could be going toward a mortgage. You'd be helping her build equity. Jennifer finally spoke up more forcefully. Mom, stop. This is embarrassing. Michael doesn't owe me a house. But my mother was on a roll. She'd created a whole financial plan. She'd calculated mortgage payments, insurance costs, even picked out neighborhoods. She'd somehow gotten my financial information, not just the balance, but my account numbers. My investment portfolio details everything. How did you get all this information? I demanded. She looked sheepish for a moment. You left your laptop open when you went to the bathroom during dinner last week. I just took some photos to understand your situation better. I felt sick. She deliberately snooped through my computer and photographed my private financial information. I stood up to leave, but she grabbed my arm. Michael, I've already told Jennifer she can start looking seriously. Don't embarrass us by backing out now. Backing out of what I never agreed to anything. The conversation ended with me walking out while my mother called after me about disappointment and selfishness. Jennifer texted me later apologizing, saying she tried to tell our mother this was inappropriate but had been overruled. The worst part, my mother has been telling extended family members about my wealth and how I'm refusing to help my sister. I've gotten messages from cousins and aunts I haven't spoken to in years. Some were supportive, others suggesting I should share my blessings. I've changed all my passwords, enabled two-factor authentication on everything, and put a freeze on my credit. I'm also considering switching banks entirely. The violation of privacy is what gets me most. She went through my computer, took photos of my financial information, and is now using it to try to manipulate me into buying my sister a house. I'm at a loss. How did wanting to save money for my future turn into this family drama? Update 2. 6 weeks later, I thought things couldn't get worse after my last update. I was wrong. 3 weeks ago, I received a call from an unknown number. It was a real estate agent named Susan calling to confirm our appointment to view houses for my sister. Apparently, my mother had given her my contact information as the financial backer for the purchase. I'm sorry, there's been a misunderstanding, I told her. I'm not buying anyone a house. Susan was professional but confused, but Patricia said you'd already agreed to provide the down payment and co-sign the mortgage. We have viewings scheduled all day Saturday. I explained the situation briefly, apologized for the waste of her time, and thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. That Saturday, my phone rang at 8:00 a.m. It was my mother, furious. Where are you? Susan said. You canceled. Jennifer took the day off work for these viewings. Mom, I told you repeatedly that I'm not buying Jennifer a house. The fact that you went ahead and scheduled viewings anyway shows you're not listening to me. Not listening. Michael, I'm trying to help you do the right thing. Do you know how embarrassed I was when Susan called to say you'd canceled? I told Jennifer this was finally happening. The call ended with her hanging up on me. But the real shock came the following Monday. I received an email from Susan with a subject line: documentation needed for mortgage pre-approval. Attached were partially filled mortgage applications with my information. My full name, social security number, employer information, and salary details. The co-barter section listed Jennifer's information. My mother had tried to start a mortgage application using my information. I immediately called Susan and explained that this was fraudulent, that I had never agreed to any of this, and that she needed to destroy all documentation with my information. She was mortified and assured me she would handle it immediately. I then called my mother, barely able to contain my rage. You tried to commit fraud, I said without preamble. You gave someone my social security number and tried to apply for a mortgage in my name. It's not fraud, she said defensively. I was just getting the paperwork started to save time. You'd have to sign eventually anyway. Mom, that's literally identity theft. I could press charges. There was silence on the line before she said, you'd have your own mother arrested over helping your sister. I consulted with a lawyer friend who advised me to send a formal cease and desist letter to my mother, which I did. The letter stated that any further attempts to use my personal information without consent would result in legal action. The family explosion was immediate. My phone blew up with calls and texts. Some relatives were appalled at my mother's actions. Others thought I was overreacting. My uncle Richard called to say I was tearing the family apart over pieces of paper. Jennifer called me crying, saying she'd had no idea about the mortgage application and was mortified. She genuinely thought we were just looking at houses to get an idea of the market. She's been staying with friends because the tension at home with our mother is unbearable. The most surreal part: my mother genuinely doesn't understand what she did wrong. In her mind, she was just being a proactive mother trying to help her children. The fact that it involved fraud and identity theft doesn't seem to register. I've had to take additional security measures. I've placed fraud alerts with all 3 credit bureaus, opened a P.O. box for sensitive mail, and even installed security cameras at my house after she mentioned to my aunt that she still had a spare key from when I first moved in. Last week, I found out she created a GoFundMe titled "Help Jennifer Buy Her First Home," where she detailed my excessive wealth and refusal to help. She'd raised $450 before I reported it and had it taken down. I'm exhausted. What started as her snooping through my bank statement has turned into attempted identity theft, public humiliation, and family warfare. I love my family, but I don't recognize the person my mother has become in pursuit of my money. Update 3, 3 months later. This is my 3rd update, and I genuinely hope it's my last. The past 3 months have been a masterclass in how money can reveal people's true characters. After my last update, things went quiet for about 2 weeks. I foolishly thought my cease and desist letter had finally gotten through to my mother. I should have known she was planning something. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I received a text from Jennifer. "Please don't hate me. I just found out what Mom did." "I'm so sorry." I tried to stop her. Before I could respond, my doorbell rang. Through my security camera, I saw my mother standing there with a man in a suit holding a folder. I didn't answer, but I watched as they had an animated conversation on my porch before finally leaving. An hour later, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mr. Thompson, this is James Morrison from Morrison Realty. I'm calling about the generous gift you're providing for your sister's home purchase. I have the contracts here, but I need to verify some information." My blood ran cold. "What contracts?" "The purchase agreement for 421 Maple Drive. Your mother, Patricia, said you'd agreed to provide the $78,000 down payment and closing costs. We just need your signature and proof of funds." I took a deep breath. "Mr. Morrison, I'm afraid you've been misled. I have never agreed to purchase a house or provide any money for a house. Any contracts you have are fraudulent." There was a long pause, but we're supposed to close in 2 weeks. Your sister has already given notice at her rental. My heart sank. Jennifer gave notice. That's what your mother told me. She said it was all arranged, that you were just busy with work and she was handling the logistics. I explained the situation as professionally as I could. Mr. Morrison was understanding, but concerned about the legal implications. He said he'd need to consult with his broker and likely void the contract. I immediately called Jennifer. She was in tears before I even spoke. "Michael, I swear I didn't know. Mom told me you'd changed your mind and wanted to surprise me. She said you felt bad about everything and this was your way of apologizing. I only gave notice because she said the house was a done deal. My mother had manipulated my sister into a terrible position. Jennifer had less than 30 days to find new housing because she believed our mother's lies. The confrontation with my mother was explosive. I drove to her house that evening, and for the first time in my life, I truly yelled at her. You made Jennifer homeless. You lied to her, to realtors, to everyone. She tried to deflect. If you just done the right thing from the beginning, there is no right thing here. It's my money. Mine. Not yours to promise, not yours to spend, not yours to plan with. Family helps family, she screamed back. Your grandfather would be ashamed of you. My grandfather worked for everything he had and never demanded handouts from his children. The argument continued until my father, who had been largely silent through this whole ordeal, finally spoke up. Patricia, enough, he said quietly. You've lost your mind over this. You're destroying our family. She turned on him, then accusing him of taking my side of not caring about Jennifer's future. But he held firm. Our son saved that money. He earned it. It is the end of discussion. The aftermath was swift. Jennifer found a new apartment with the help of friends. Though the sudden move cost her significantly, I offered to help with moving expenses. The only money I've willingly offered throughout this entire ordeal, which she gratefully accepted. My mother has been telling anyone who will listen that I'm a greedy son who let his sister become homeless rather than share my fortune. Most of the family has seen through her manipulation, especially after learning about the attempted fraud and the fake house purchase. Last week, I received one final surprise. A certified letter arrived with my mother's handwriting. Inside was an invoice for raising me, itemizing everything from diapers to college contributions totaling $47,892. Her note said this was less than half of what I owed her, and I could pay the rest by buying Jennifer a house. I laughed, actually laughed. The absurdity of it all finally hit me. My mother had become so consumed by my savings that she destroyed her relationship with both her children, attempted multiple forms of fraud, and now wanted to retroactively charge me for my childhood. I've saved that letter. My lawyer says it could be useful if she escalates further. As of today, I haven't spoken to my mother in 6 weeks. Jennifer and I have grown closer through this ordeal. She's repeatedly apologized for our mother's behavior and has started therapy to deal with the manipulation she's endured. My father calls occasionally, sadly reporting that my mother remains convinced she did nothing wrong. He's considering separation if she doesn't seek help. The money that started all this still in my account, still mine, still growing through careful investment. I've learned that financial privacy isn't just important, it's essential. I've also learned that money doesn't change people, it reveals who they really are. Final update, 4 months later. I wasn't going to update again, but I received several messages asking for closure. And honestly, writing these updates has been therapeutic. This is truly my final update. It's been 4 months since my mother tried to buy a house with my money. 4 months since she destroyed our family over $127,000 that was never hers to claim. The ending to the saga is both sad and somewhat hopeful. Last month, I received a call from my father. He sounded tired, defeated even. "Michael, your mother had an episode at the bank." My stomach dropped. "What kind of episode?" "She tried to access your old savings account, the one from when you were a teenager." When they told her it had been closed for years, she became hysterical. Security had to escort her out. The bank manager called me. It turns out my mother had been spiraling deeper into her obsession with my money. She'd created elaborate fantasies about what she could do with it, how she could help not just Jennifer, but other family members. She'd spent hours calculating how to distribute my wealth among the family. The bank incident was a wake-up call for my father. He gave her an ultimatum: seek professional help or face divorce. Surprisingly, she chose help. My mother was diagnosed with an adjustment disorder with anxiety triggered by financial stress she'd been hiding. Apparently, she and my father had been struggling with debt from some bad investments. The discovery of my savings had triggered something in her, a desperate belief that all their problems could be solved if I would just share. This doesn't excuse her behavior, but it does explain the sudden personality change. The mother who went through my bank statements wasn't the woman who raised me. She was someone consumed by financial desperation and anxiety. She's been in therapy for 6 weeks now. My father says there has been progress, though she still struggles to fully accept responsibility for her actions. The therapist has helped her understand that her behavior was a form of financial abuse and that her sense of entitlement to my money was a coping mechanism for her own financial fears. Jennifer and I have grown closer through this ordeal. She's thriving in her new apartment and has started a side business tutoring students online to supplement her teaching income. She jokes that our mother's madness taught her the importance of financial independence. 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from my mother. A real letter, not an invoice or demand. It was short. "Michael, I'm sorry. I lost myself in fear and greed. Your money was never mine to claim or distribute. I'm working on understanding why I felt entitled to what you earned. I hope someday you can forgive me, though I understand if you can't. Mom, it's a start. I'm not ready to resume contact yet, but I appreciated the acknowledgement." My therapist, yes, I started therapy too, says forgiveness is a process, not an event. The extended family drama has mostly died down. A few relatives still think I should have helped, but most are appalled by the full story. My cousin Sarah joked that I should write a book, How to Turn Your Family Crazy, with one bank statement. As for my money, it's still there quietly growing. I've actually increased my savings rate. Partly out of spite and partly because this experience taught me the value of financial security. I've also learned to be much more private about my finances. Only my accountant and financial advisor know my true net worth now. I did do one thing with the money, though. I set up a small education fund for any future nieces or nephews. It's my way of helping family without enabling entitlement. Jennifer doesn't know about it yet. Someday when she has kids, I'll surprise her the right way with genuine generosity, not manipulation. This whole experience has taught me valuable lessons. A financial privacy is paramount. A money amplifies existing character traits. A family and finances should mix carefully, if at all. A mental health can impact financial behavior in unexpected ways. Boundaries aren't cruel, they're necessary. To anyone reading this who's dealing with family financial drama, stand your ground. Your money is yours. You're not obligated to bankrupt yourself for family members who feel entitled to your success. Help if you want to, when you want to, how you want to, but never because you're being manipulated or guilt-tripped. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and support throughout this journey. Your perspectives helped me stay sane when I felt like I was going crazy. And Mom, if you're reading this, I know Dad showed you my first post. I do love you. I hope you continue getting help. Maybe someday we can rebuild our relationship, one that doesn't revolve around my bank account. This is Michael signing off. May your families be supportive and your bank statements private. Epilogue posted in comments. Since people keep asking, yes, I still have my $127,000. Actually, it's grown to about $135,000 now thanks to some good investment choices. Jennifer and I have dinner every Sunday. She's never once mentioned money except to joke about our mother's house hunting phase. My parents are still together working through their issues. My mother has been diagnosed with financial anxiety disorder and is making genuine progress. She's even started volunteering at a financial literacy nonprofit, teaching others about budgeting and the dangers of financial entitlement. And yes, I've upgraded my home security system. The cameras now have motion alerts, and I've invested in a very good safe because while I believe in forgiveness, I also believe in protecting yourself. Sometimes family members lose their way. Sometimes money makes them do crazy things. But boundaries, therapy, and time can heal even the deepest wounds. Not all of them, not completely, but enough to move forward. Stay strong, protect your assets, and remember your success is not your family's ATM.